After a month-long break, Paradigm Shift Radio is back with some more shifty goodness. This is Skull Babylon, and you're about to listen to episode 92. This was another Conscious Community call-in episode which began with some updates of my own, and then flowed into a conversation about the ever-interesting topic of astrology, why we should be interested in it, how it can help us map out this matrix, and how it can help us understand and know more about ourselves and others. But of course, the conversation continues beyond the radio broadcast, so if you're looking for more insight, then be sure to check out the After Party video hangout linked into the YouTube version of this episode, and also available through the main website at ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Paradigm Shift Radio is a tool and interactive show for us to use to practice having conversation, so we invite anyone to get involved with future episodes to share their knowledge, questions, and experience with a global audience as we all continue to learn. Take it a step further and be sure to engage with your local community where you are. Tell some friends about PSR, tune in for future episodes, and be a part of an awesome evolving global community. Enjoy the flow, and one love.
If you are here, if you are now, then you have made it this far. And that, in itself, is something that I think all of us should be pretty excited about. International friends, thank you once again for joining us here again for another awesome, consciousness shifting, exciting, community-driven episode of Paradigm Shift Radio. We are back after a little bit of a break, a little bit of a nice pull and a nice pause, a nice lull in the frequency there, but definitely one that was just part of the pattern. Part of the way things were unfolding, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to get back into the swing of all this shifty business. And of course, this is your good buddy Brendon, aka Skull Babylon, aka Skull the Wolf, back with you once again for episode 92 of Paradigm Shift Radio. And of course, shout out to everybody in the live chat for joining us here once again. And if I can get an 1111 from somebody in the live chat to be able to double check, make sure that things are sounding awesome, then we'll be able to roll along with Paradigm Shift Radio. And of course, I'm definitely excited. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I know a lot of people are interested in the recent journey that I have returned from. I mean, well, we're always in an ongoing journey, but in particular, the journey to the Lucidity Festival to film Journey to Lucidity 2, which of course you can find at facebook.com/Journey to Lucidity. It's a sequel to the movie that I went out there and did there last year. And that was out in California, and I was hanging out with some awesome people. I was staying at a beautiful place with our good buddies Amateo Ra and Nathaniel Solis, and also Patty Universe, and my good buddy Jesse Carrier, who lives there as well, plus a couple other people. And that was a really exciting thing. It was a really, really beautiful place. Crazy, really just interesting in itself, because there's actually footage that I had that I filmed on the last day, because I figured, some of you guys have been following my stuff on YouTube, and you're kind of interested in the places that I go, and of course I think we should all be interested in the places all of us are going. And of course, youtube.com/Skull Babylon, if you haven't subbed that yet. And I will say, sub that now, because the new video is on the way. I'm releasing a new video tonight as soon as we're done this episode, and it's a new free hugs video that I was doing, that I filmed, that I edited today, that we were doing yesterday on May the 3rd, and check that out. But the place that I was at in California was really interesting. And just a long story short, this house that they have, beautiful house, but the house that they happen to have, the person who owned it before them had 3 Aztec calendars throughout the location of the property of the house. There's one outside, there's one by the fountain, and there's one against a tree. And so it was just kind of interesting that this wasn't just a house. It was like a modern day temple, so to speak. And they had all sorts of really cool altars all over the place. We've talked about altars in the past on Paradigm Shift Radio. And what are altars? I mean, you get a bunch of trinkets. You get things like crystals. You get things just like pendants. You get things that mean something to you, that have some sort of positive, resonant energy to them. I mean, whether it's positive or negative, some sort of energy to them. And so, I mean, there are all these altars around the house, which were really cool. There's almost one in every room sort of thing. And there's one, actually it's kind of fitting to the theme almost. There's one thing that they had on their altar, or at least within the room, and it was a stormtrooper from Star Wars. and he had like a feather attached to his arm, and he was in like a flight where it looked like he was flying, and then they like hung him from a piece on the ceiling. It might have even been attached to the fan at one point. But so today, obviously, is May the 4th, the day of this recording, which of course is Galactic Star Wars Day. So of course, May the 4th be with you always, all of you. And so I'm excited because in that sense, we'll be able to talk about Star Wars tonight. We'll be able to have a good excuse to continue the conscious conversation and perhaps even move it towards the realm of Star Wars. And those of you who've been tuned into Paradigm Shift Radio for quite some time, you'll know that we actually specifically did a Star Wars episode last year on May the 4th. And I chose not to do the same time this time because getting back into the swing of things, I really want this to just be a community call, which is what this show is about, which means that people can call in, we, the community, can call into the show and want to be able to just like add their voice to the conversation. Just confirming, everybody can hear me in the live chat. Double check that 1111. Yeah, Mother Moon was just getting some sort of audio problems on hers, but she'll be able to fix that out. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to all the awesome people in the live chat. And of course, if you are listening to the show, we'll get into some really interesting stuff. So if you guys want to, please continue to share this episode with your friends, get more people invited, and shout out to all the people who are new to this Paradigm Shift community, which it is. It's a global community. And of course, it's also about the physical community. So inviting people to call into the show now, I know we specifically have our good buddy Alon, who has he's been traveling right now. He is in Canada, and he has organized this whole project called Love Trip. And he's flown from Israel, him and his friend Avi. And they were inspired by Paradigm Shift Radio and Paradigm Shift Central, and of course, ParadigmShiftCentral.com is what you want to check out if you haven't checked that out yet. But, all the free hug stuff that we do, we're promoting positivity, we're building community, we're creating space for consciousness to continue to explore itself, because as we evolve ourselves, as we evolve each other, as we evolve the community, we are evolving the literal whole. Each part of our own evolution literally is contributing to the collective evolution. And of course you hear that phrase now and then, but really just keeping in mind that this is such a community-driven thing, and it's exciting. It's exciting for people to be a part of it and for it to be so real. So Alana will be calling into the show at some point, no doubt about that. And in the meantime, also just inviting more people to get synced up, and you can call into the show through the host call-in, which of course is 347-539-5493, or you can call in through Skype by pressing the Skype button in the Blog Talk Radio. And of course, if you're looking for the higher quality versions of all the past episodes, you can find those through the main website, and also now through the convenience of the Facebook page at facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio. You can find, there's a little tab thing that I added, which has all the episodes, in the playlist, linked into that for your convenience. And of course, we're also on iTunes, and that's about it. So just grabbing some delicious water and double checking nobody's messaging me on there. People were just got to respond to this. Dave Love was just asking, about the live chat through the Blog Talk. Anybody who's looking for the live chat who might be listening to this, of course, the live chat is a big part of the show. Scroll down when you're listening into it through your Blog Talk window. Just scroll down, and the live chat should load up, and then you just got to load in either with your Facebook or a profile that you make. So it's not too hard. A lot of people have been able to figure it out, and that's how you can get connected. So, of course, shout out to everybody in the live chat. Just a quick little thing, just to show a little bit of diversity in our geography. Just post your locations, people who are in the live chat right now, and I'll just give the little bit of a shout out there as to a little bit of just the different geography, all the different nodes, all the different points all across the globe that we are sinking into this grid from. So that's pretty exciting in itself. Now, of course, like I said, there's a lot of awesome stuff that happened in California, and I know a lot of people are interested in that. And the truth is, so I filmed the movie, and the reason why we haven't done a Paradigm Shift Radio episode is actually because I've been pretty busy with another project, pretty busy with another documentary, a full-length feature film documentary that I've been working on with my father for quite some time. And the project is called General Racing, or technically The General Racing. And I'll post a link for the GoFundMe in the live chat and also in the show notes as well. and theoretically we'll also have a trailer up for you guys, or a new trailer, but there is a current trailer. But you can check that out, and what it is, it's a racing documentary about F-1600 racing cars in the Quebec circuit, and in particular a team that includes a retired Major General of the Canadian Forces, and his name is Lou Mackenzie, and so it's following them through the season. And it's also all about like basically the long story short is this movie is a metaphor for life, and it's a metaphor for the highs and lows that we all go through, and the perseverance that is required to be able to make it through it, and to be able to become stronger and to learn more about ourselves through the process. So it's really interesting because, I mean, you see this movie on the surface and it's a movie about racing, but being the person who has edited and being able to like integrate myself through it and being a conduit for this editing process, and the editing process is a very, very interesting process, like how it works. Like, you know, it's just a crystallization, very, very like micro representation of the crystallization process of the macro in like art form, in like through a series of like over, you know, hundreds and millions of clicks, so to speak. But eventually you start out with like weeks worth of footage and it turns into a movie. It turns into like this 90-minute piece. But the movie is really interesting because it has a lot of, like I said, a lot of life lessons involved and sort of weaves through it that I think if you're looking at it from sort of like knowing that I made it, I guess, so to speak, you'll probably sort of see a little bit of what I'm talking about a little bit more. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. But again, if you want to check that out, go to the GoFundMe at gofundme.com/thegeneralracing, and definitely check that out. And you'll expect to hear more from that, but not necessarily through Paradigm Shift Radio, because that's not what Paradigm Shift Radio is about. But yeah, through the movie, through making that, I was working on that. And now that I'm almost done that, I'm about to get to the editing for Journey to Lucidity, which I haven't even started on yet. Like, I've honestly been finishing this project, and then I'll get started on the editing for the Journey to Lucidity movie, which will be really interesting because it will be back going through the festival, going through this transformational festival. And it'll be like reliving it in a lot of ways, which will be really interesting. It'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, that happened. So I'm excited to be able to do that and start sharing that with you guys. But again, I'm sure I could keep babbling on, and I apologize, but there's so much that I could just tell you guys. I mean, like I said, it's been a while. Just a couple other things I'll mention. Halfway through the show, I'll remind you guys about the opportunity to win the free shift buttons. And, of course, you can order the shift buttons anytime through the main website at paradigmshiftcentral.com/buttons. And you can win some free of the buttons. The buttons are awesome. You'll see some of them in the new video that I'm going to post. And also reminding people of the shirts. They're the Open Your Heart shirts at teespring.com/openyourheart. And the Paradigm Shift 2.0 shirts will be coming out in the near future. Keep an eye open for that, or just message me on Facebook. Let me know that you want that for sure. And you may not, or maybe you can tell somehow, but I am wearing the Paradigm Shift shirt as it is right now. And I've been rocking this thing like solid. And honestly, just wearing it and then like having it on me and then looking in the mirror, it's sigil magic in the sense that it brings you back to this awareness of focus. If you look at the Paradigm Shift sigil, especially when you're wearing it synchronized like on your chest, like parallel to like, you know, just symmetrical with your body, it definitely does, for me, it just sort of like resyncs with the idea of focus. But look at the Paradigm Shift sigil. What does it mean to you? Is always a question that I ask people. So I'm going to segue this over, and I'm really curious to hear from Alon, but I'm not entirely sure if we have him in the queue as it is right now. I don't believe we do, but there's a person who's calling in from area code 813, and I'm curious to check, they're not even in the queue. Caller from area code 813. If you want to be brought onto the show, press 1 on your keypad, and then I'll know for sure. But we also have a couple of our other friends in the live chat who are there with us, and I'm excited to bring them on. I just want to double check to see if we can get some new voices onto Paradigm Shift Radio, so that'll be pretty exciting too. So caller from 813, they are queued up, they are interested in coming onto the show. So with that said, I'm excited to bring them on. And of course, 25 users in the live chat. This is when it gets extra interesting as we start getting you guys involved in this conversation as well. And again, please continue to invite your friends to tune in to Paradigm Shift Radio. And caller from 813, we're going to bring you onto the air. So here we go. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, man. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from and what would you like to bring to the show?
My name is Giovanni. I'm calling from Tampa, Florida. And this is actually a first time caller, first time hearing your show. I'm really interested. Well, I mean, honestly, I just wanted to say hi, but I'd rather hear a little bit first before introducing what I want to talk about. Man.
Cool, man. Well, welcome to the show. Yeah, we can definitely get some other people sort of in the air here as well, and you can just sort of jump on board as we get flowing along with things. I can leave you into the queue, and yeah, Giovanni, what we'll do, we'll sort of set it up as a group discussion. So we'll bring a couple people on at a time, and then we'll just sort of start bouncing some ideas around. So is that cool? Unless you got something you really want. I mean, what are you interested in? If you don't mind me just asking you now, like I mean, like lucid dreaming or whatever it is. Anything in particular you're interested in right now?
I mean, lucid dreaming, definitely. Really what I'm interested in is, I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the book Think and Grow Rich. There's a chapter there on Mastermind Group. And really what it discusses is basically the idea of if I can give an example, like in the Bible, it says that if when two or more gather, that he is there. Well, essentially the same concept. When the more people focus on the same idea, it just strengthens that type of energy. Something else. I'm just always interested in learning or just meeting people who are like-minded.
Right on, man. Cool. All right. Well, Giovanni, welcome on to Paradigm Shift Radio, and I'm excited to be able to get to meet some more people as well. And it looks like we got a couple other callers who have jumped into the queue, and we'll bring them on. And I will just say, I mean, amongst all the stuff that I was talking about at the top of the show, I touched upon the idea of the new video coming out of the free hugs that I did yesterday. That's something we'll talk about it as we sort of get to the part when Alon's coming on, because that's really what that's all about. But no, I just double checking that I filled you guys in, because that's something I want to talk about. Just the awesome excitement of doing free hugs on a rainy day downtown, and why we do it. What is the actual purpose? What purposes are there to doing this? What can it accomplish, sort of thing. So we'll talk about that. The strategy of like shifting paradigms and hacking the matrix, as I speak, as I commonly say, so to speak. So we're going to bring on a caller who is also in the queue. Caller from area code 862. If you are ready, just giving you a couple seconds to prepare yourself, and we're going to bring you onto the show. And then also we got caller from area code 727, and we'll bring them on shortly soon after. So caller from area code 862, we're going to bring you on to Paradigm Shift Radio. Here we go. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. This voice is awfully familiar. Caller, who is this? Where are you calling from? And what would you like to bring to the show?
Well, what's funny is, Brendon, you've never heard my voice, but my name is Lori. I'm from North New Jersey. I'm the admin in North New Jersey.
Oh, of course, Lori. Awesome. Well, it's good to hear your voice, and I know we get a lot of awesome people calling into the show, and to me, I mean, even just like the sincerity in a lot of the females' voices, I apologize for mistaking, in my mind, a lot of you do sound similar, but that's just in the way that I'll just see you in such awesome, like kind-spoken, soft female voices in my mind.
That's
but
right.
Yes, Lori, thank you. Welcome on to Paradigm Shift Radio. So, Lori, is there anything you would like to bring to the conversation circle, just off the start? Or even just introduce yourself if you'd like?
Well, sure. Straight off the bat, I have like a serious problem getting onto Blog Talk Radio, like into the live chat. I don't know what it is. That doesn't seem to work. Like, I don't know. I'm like into Blog Talk. I think I have my own station, I'm pretty sure, although I do not, obviously. But, so yeah, I just figured what the hell, I'll just like say hello via telephone. Since I can't ever make myself known through the live chat.
This is one way to do it. Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. I gotta say, I've been super not present in the administrative sort of ways, but I feel like the momentum of just our return to the radio, I don't know, I just felt it the last couple of days, and I've been super stoked to hear your voice again on the radio, so here I am, and awesome. I'm ready for whatever.
Well, I know, Lori, you've done some free hug stuff in New Jersey, have you not?
Well, I've attempted, but it's never quite come to fruition, sadly. But
okay.
Lots of intentions.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like when you say it hasn't happened, like have you actually like stood out there?
Okay, yeah. So no, I've never stood out there like with a sign.
Yeah.
I've given lots of free hugs and lots of good vibes, but it's actually still never happened. Sadly, no.
Well,
but,
it's definitely, it's not too complicated. So I mean, yeah, just when the time is right. Don't no pressure. But I'm sure you'll have an awesome time when it does happen.
Well, I've made signs and I've made pamphlets. Like I've personalized some of our paradigm shift sort of little pamphlets to North New Jersey. I just haven't quite made it out there yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, wow, the name escapes me off the top of my head. Buddy who was calling in a couple weeks ago talking about the... Troy, of course, yes, thank you. Troy is, like, you guys haven't crossed paths yet, have you?
We have not. We've Facebook messaged, so we're in touch.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, again, for people who haven't tuned into this show before, like what this is about, the Paradigm Shift Radio Show is a network, is a show that connects all the Paradigm Shift communities. And the Paradigm Shift communities are just places where people get together and they have open-minded discussion and meditation, but it's really about networking. It's about bringing people in a local community into a single space so that they can get to know each other and that they can do more than just have open-minded discussion and meditation circles, so that they can start like getting involved outside of the immediate Paradigm Shift community meetings. So again, Lori is our admin for the Paradigm Shift New Jersey area, and we're always inviting and encouraging people to think about starting up a Paradigm Shift community where they are, and that's where, again, once we get into the conversation of free hugs and stuff, I'll just emphasize, part of the effectiveness of the free hug tactic to be able to build a Paradigm Shift community and how quickly that can make a difference. But anyways, we'll get there when we get there. So, Lori, is there anything else? We got some other callers in the queue, so we're going to move through them. Is there anything else, just introduction or just message that you want to bring to the circle with the people?
Just bring the callers in, and I got to say, I feel the momentum, and I feel like here we are ready to start the next phase, and I'm ready.
Chapter.
So
Yeah. This is kind of like a new chapter for Paradigm Shift. There's been lots of chapters up to this point as well, but yeah, definitely just with a bit of a break, it's just like, all right, let's get back into this. Let's see what we can make of it. So cool.
Yeah,
thank you.
It brings the momentum back to a new level. So here we are.
That's right. We're here. We're now. Awesome. All right. So Lori, we're going to keep you in the chat as well, and we got two people as well. Caller, I know your name. I just forget it. You'll have to remind me. Other caller. Okay, I apologize. But anyways, we're going to bring on caller from area code 727. And, Giovanni, that's what it was. Caller from area code 727. We're going to bring them onto the air, and they're going to get joined in with this conversation as well. So caller from area code 727, if you're ready, we're going to bring you on to Paradigm Shift Radio. Here we go. Hello,
hey,
caller. Hey, person who is, I know, is this Adriano?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Bam, got it. Cool, man. Welcome to Paradigm Shift Radio.
How's it going, brother?
Good, man. Good. It's good to hear your voice. Actually, state the obvious. That was something, just in all the community news at the top of the show that I want to definitely bring attention to, is that in the past while, since we haven't been doing the radio shows, there's still been community hangouts taking place, and big shout out to Andy for helping get those organized. And I know you've been jumping in on a couple of those as well, have you not? How have those been going?
Yeah, those have been quite entertaining. As we know, Andy loves to sing a lot, so it's kind of like a karaoke hour. And it's karaoke, and then once we get tired of singing, we do have some pretty good discussions. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. So hanging out on the web is something kind of new. It's kind of this new technology that we have, and it's a lot of fun. I've had a friend on the internet for the last 6 years, and I really never thought I would say that. So playing around with technology is pretty cool, and it's cool to hang out.
Yeah, definitely. And I know the last chat that Andy put on which was just yesterday, was specifically about lucid dreaming, and I'm sure there was probably less karaoke in that one. But it looked like you guys had. I mean, from what I saw, there was like 10 people in the conversation which is the capacity for Google Hangouts. So, congratulations! I think that's awesome that you guys were able to bring that together. And of course, with the Paradigm Shift community, the online digital aspect of it, we encourage people to be able to just be like, hey, attention to everyone, I'm going to start a Google Hangout and maybe choose a particular topic, and anybody who wants to come join me is invited, because it's so easy, and we know it works, and especially what we've already got set up. And of course, if anybody hasn't yet and they're looking to get involved with this community, go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com, and then at the top, click the link to go to the Global Discussion Facebook group, and then just be sure to join that. And we've had a lot of new people join that as well, which is pretty exciting. But anyways, so Adriano, is there anything in particular that you would like to bring to this conversation circle?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is.
Perfect.
Recently, I've been diving back into Santos Bonacci and kind of this astrotheology and astrology. And it's kind of funny because I've always, I'll check my horoscope like once a year, maybe twice a year. I never really dived into astrology and really think about what the study is and how the planets can affect our moods and affect our emotions. So I've kind of been just diving into that lately and watching some of Santos' videos, and it's been pretty cool. I've been going through a breakup recently and kind of lost myself in that relationship, and I did my astro chart the other day and just kind of seeing what qualities I have in myself to just kind of remind myself of who I am and of my individuality. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool topic of conversation if anybody's had any cool experiences with astrology or if anybody's ever done their chart before. So that's what I'm kind of interested right now in.
Yeah. There's a good buddy of mine who does really good chart readings and stuff. Look at him to do mine as well, but I know some of my buddies have talked to him about that. And of course, you mentioned Santos Bonacci. That's someone who I do intend to reconnect with to be able to get back onto the show. So I think that'll be pretty cool to have him on to talk about that. But just putting it out there. In the topic of astrology, either to Lori or to Giovanni, do either of you guys have anything just about astrology that are you interested in it?
Me personally, but I've been a big fan of Santos Bonacci, and I've done my birth chart. I've really dove into it, as far as the book that he referenced, also within his videos, and I've learned a lot from my birth chart. And I kind of scared myself from studying too much as far as the time of death and things like that, But as far as careers and the spiritual path, a lot of that stuff coincides with what happened in my life, and I think it's been a big help.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
well, I think, just in Paradigm Shift Radio fashion, now we've sort of just centralized around the topic, the one that Adriano has brought on in terms of astrology. Let's spend just a couple minutes here, just be able to help just anybody who's listening, those of us who may not be entirely familiar with astrology. How can we, as a group, as the four of us here right now, we can still bring on other people, of course, how can we go about trying to explain what astrology is to someone who may simply not know what it is? So I'll pass it back to Adriano, and then we'll just continue the conversation around. But Adriano, how would you explain astrology, and also why should somebody be interested in it, is the questions.
That is an amazing question. Okay, how would I explain it? To me, astrology is dealing with the planets in our solar system and how they affect our moods and our consciousness. And I'm interested in natal astrology, which has to do about an individual's kind of a journey on this planet, kind of your soul's journey. So when you read your horoscope or you read your chart, it kind of helps guides your personality, or kind of gives you a little bit of advice on what kind of emotions you might be feeling lately, or what kind of emotions might be coming up. And these all coincide with how the planets are aligning in our solar system. So I'll give a quick example. So right now, Venus, let me get this right. Okay, Venus is in Aries right now. So I'm in Aries. That's my sun sign. And Venus has to do with love and romance, So right now, supposedly I'm supposed to be like really attractive person right now. I'm supposed to be having attractive qualities, and I have been seeing it lately. I mean, I've had a lot of encounters with people of the opposite sex lately, and it has been fantastic. But kind of another funny coin to that is my Mars, the ruler of my sign, is in retrograde, so I'm not like fully in my power right now. But I don't want to dive too much into my personal sign, but just for a quick overview of what astrology is to me, it's the way the planets affect our mind and consciousness, and especially our emotions. I feel like the planets weigh heavily on our emotions. So to answer the second part to that question, why would people be interested? If you're ever having a really, really funky day, and if you ever really feel like everything is just out of line for you and nothing seems to be working properly, maybe read into kind of where the planets are aligning in your chart, see what's going on with the planets, and it might give you some insight into what's happening into your life. So I think it's pretty cool. I haven't dived in too deeply, but I think it's cool for a quick overview. You know, it's just kind of another tool that you can have in your practice. So I think it's worth a shot to kind of read a little bit more about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the thing that when I'm trying to comprehend astrology or even explain it, what you said, the placement of the planets within our solar system affects our mind and consciousness. And I think some people would just be like, well, what? Like how does that happen? I mean, it's almost, like if you were to think of like, imagine the universe as just like a layer of water, so to speak. And when you like drop a pebble in that water, it creates a ripple. And then each one of these planets is like a ripple generator, so to speak. And so like each one of these planets has its own frequency for the way that the ripples are being created. But then the interesting thing is that when you have 9, 10 objects that are huge and in mass and in this space, in this ocean of energy, then the ripples that they're creating, they're overlapping with each other. And more so than anything, they're creating that space between two ripples when they collide, the Vesica Pisces, the shape that looks like an eyeball, like sideways sort of thing, that shape. That shape is like where new form, like new vibration sort of like comes out of. But what I'm trying to say is that as the planets move, and as we move through them, we're moving into different places of the universe where we're being hit by ripples differently. And obviously, like music, you know that when you change something slightly, it sounds different. And if you change it more, it sounds quite different. So we're like an instrument constantly being played by like the ripples that are hitting the harmonics of us in space, so to speak. I mean, and that's trying to put it in a layman's term sort of thing. So anyways, so again, astrology is this idea that based on where we are at certain points of the year within the solar system, we're being hit by different ripples, which, and again, you almost have to go back to the whole idea of like, how does that vibration affect everything? Well, vibration would affect everything, but anyways, ... So what I think, just to add my own insight real quick, or just my own, not my own observation, just an idea that I'm holding on to, and then I'll pass this around the circle. But I think astrology is valuable because it's interesting how we are born with different signs. We are born with different zodiacs. We are like a lot of people are familiar with this. And the idea is that like these zodiacs, these signs, these houses almost reflect like a nature of who we are. It reflects like our nature. And again, like part of the reason is that like people are born in different places of the universe depending on when they are born throughout the time of the year. And then based on like some studies, like this actually means that, and also it has to do with the fact that the sun releases like different types of radiation at different times of the year. So at a super micro level, you as like an embryonic state are being affected differently by the different ripples of the reality that you're in when you're a small child, which drastically, or not drastically, but in some way influences like your nature, like the blueprint that you sort of step into, which becomes like your character, which becomes like who you are as a person, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, if that makes sense, that's again, keeping in mind, Paradigm Shift Radio is all just about practice. We as consciousness are just doing our best efforts to talk about the things that it's just like, okay, so here's my best guess, like here's me trying to put this grand scheme of things into words, and that was my effort at that, and it's always just practice. I'll try and say it better next time, I promise. But just passing that around, if that makes sense. But go ahead, Adriano.
Beautifully said, Paul. I think it came out.
Sense,
yeah.
Ripple metaphor works every time. So anyway. All right.
Well,
Giovanni or Lori, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I was just thinking of the one thing that really resonates with me. That's kind of along the same line. Over the years, one of the books that has really resonated with me is Dan Millman. I don't know if you guys know of Dan Millman. But he wrote a book called The Life You Were Born to Live that's based on numerology. And, it's kind of like what you were just talking about, but it's a really cool way to look at it. Just looking at your numerology when you were born and what your numbers mean. Just looking at the understanding of life and the forces that shape it based on your numbers. And then looking at your own personal growth based on ancient wisdom. Just a cool way of looking into it. It's called The Life You're Born to Live by Dan Millman. Just a little tidbit.
Awesome. Nice,
cool.
Yeah, and
I wrote it down.
Perfect.
And I think like we were saying, these kind of tools that have been around for quite some time. I mean, why not? Why not give it a little bit of a try and see what you find in there? And I really enjoy astrology because it's a really vast subject, and it's kind of, at first it feels really complicated, but as you start to, anything that's complicated with a little bit of research and time, you can kind of start to get a grasp on what's going on. And I really want to applaud you on your analogy because it really, really sounded really beautiful, and it kind of makes sense, like this these like electromagnetic waves that are coming out with ripples and just affecting our consciousness. I mean, it's pretty amazing to start to think that there's starting to become more science behind this, and to see where that's going to be heading in the future is really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As the science sort of begins to actually give us the tools to see more of this, I think that would be pretty cool. Even just micro levels too. Giovanni, like you said, you were quite familiar with some of the astrology stuff that Santos Bonacci was presenting. What else can you tell us about astrology, kind of reflecting on the question of what it is and why people should be interested in it, like how it can help us in this reality, so to speak?
What I think is actually, I find it funny because I think astrology plays a lot bigger part than what we actually know as far as our daily lives. When you look at movies like Avatar, The Last Airbender, the 4 elements, the 12 zodiac signs are divided by the 4 elements, three zodiacs per element. When you read in the Bible about the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 zodiacs, I think it ties together. I'm a big fan of the syncretism and tying in all the different teachings and different religions, And astrology, to me, that's it's like breathing. Like astrology, whether you believe it or not, it plays a part in your life big time, especially the birth chart. The natal chart is where the planets are at that minute that you were born, and that leaves a blueprint in your life that's forever. Your birth chart doesn't change. So, I think the first step for anybody who's interested in astrology would be to look up their birth chart and see how it aligns with their life. Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely what gave me the kickstart in it.
Yeah, you're right. Even for myself, I know I make a note of reading the horoscope from a particular little magazine thing that we have around town every now and then. And as a Cancer, for me, it's I pay attention to it, and it's uncannily accurate more times than not. And it's really interesting because what it's saying within a horoscope is sort of be hey, this is a pattern that you're going to be experiencing right now. that you theoretically like will have the potential to go through. And of course it's interesting because people will say like, how come horoscopes aren't always 100% accurate, so to speak. That would be an interesting thing to sort of investigate, like the accuracy of horoscopes and the sources of where people are sort of like, how are they getting this information? Is this like that is an interesting question in itself. Like the people who write horoscopes, like how are they deciphering that? Like I'm sure some people would say, it's almost like channeled, and some people would say like, well, it's like a science based on like the aspects of what the houses represent and the knowledge of what the houses represent based on like an esoteric science that has been formulated like over eons, or at least like over the last like however long that this knowledge has been sort of constructed. I mean, when you think of astrology is ancient. Like so many of the ancient cultures like had a direct understanding of like just, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what understanding did some of the ancient cultures have of the stars? Actually, maybe just passing it back, unless Adriano or Giovanni or Lori, but I know Giovanni, or I guess both of you, Adriano, if you've studied Santos. I mean, you mentioned syncretism.
Electromagnetism.
Not electromagnetism. That's something. Well, is that? I don't know. Well, but I was gonna ask. Like what are you guys? Do you guys have insight on some of the relationships that ancient cultures had with the stars, and still keeping within the conversation of astrology? Is what I'm just curious. Just putting that out there.
I'll go ahead and start. My insight. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface on this. Like I said, I've always just peeked at it like in a magazine like you, but I'm really starting to lean towards to study more about the history of it and where it originated from. But to me, it's really interesting that the Vedic astrology, the Indian culture, which is kind of timeless. I mean, we're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago, and to think that they've had this knowledge, and to think that all they really had to look at was the stars. I mean, I'm sure their day-to-day life was, I'm sure they were pretty civilized. But I mean, during nighttime when you're bored or something, and like you're in your village and there's no TV, there's no internet, there's no radio, like what did you have to entertain yourself? You could look up at the sky and really start to study this, and really start to be fascinated by it and to see maybe to start recognizing patterns. So I'm definitely going to dive into it more. I wish I had more to speak about the origins of it, but maybe the other gentleman has more info. So I'm just scratching the surface, but I do know there's Vedic astrology as well, and I know that's really, really ancient and far back. So yeah.
I can think of. I think that you're on the money as far as Vedic astrology. I think that's probably the most accurate and the ancient that I can think of. As far as right now, like if I can go outside, look at the stars, look at the sun, at the planet, and tell your characteristics, I think that's impossible for me to do. But of course, the ancients have a lot more knowledge than what we give them credit for, or probably more than what we know. Considering astrology.
Yeah, and I think about like how much time have they spent at it. I mean, there were certain mystics or certain wise men who probably spent most of their adult lives studying the stars and trying to recognize the patterns, like the patterns in the sky and how they're affecting the environment around them. So, I mean, it's really, really intriguing stuff, and the quote, the saying, as above, so below. So, I don't know. It's interesting, and I wish I had more info.
Yeah. I think keeping astrology in mind throughout your day, like I meet people, and if I ask you when it's your birthday, what I'm really saying is what's your sign, because I've memorized the dates and stuff. But from just knowing somebody's sign, I can tell about a certain way of how they think, such as like Cancer, as you mentioned, my daughter's a Cancer as well. But Cancers are a water sign. They're normally adaptable to situations, where I'm an Earth type, I'm a Taurus, and I'm the type who I feel like routine is fine with me, But I learned from my daughter, who is very flexible, to be more watery. It makes sense. I think in conversations throughout the day, if you travel and meet with people, if you know their sign, it kind of gives you a little bit of insight on how they think and how their mind works.
That's an excellent point, Giovanni. Like definitely, again, like as as we sort of move through this conversation, you were hitting upon like the practicality of astrology, and like we've sort of touched upon, astrology is almost like it's like a blueprint for someone's nature, and like you said, just based on knowing their signs, you sort of get an idea of what nature they're inclined towards. But yeah, like I would maybe just, you know, as we or just Giovanni, based on what you're aware of, maybe just hit upon some using examples, whether, you know, just a couple or all of them, of some of the other signs that are the other elements and what some of their characteristics are, and maybe for the people listening, you know, we'll say be like, oh, well, that's funny because like I know a Libra, and yeah, they're definitely like that. You know, it seems that we're like a lot of things. But yeah, I'd be curious, just putting that back to Giovanni, just in extension of what you were talking upon. Can you tell us more just about some of the other personality traits of the other signs that people can be?
Absolutely. So I want to just point out the 4 elements are fire, air, water, and earth, which it's one of the things that I study also is Gnostics. And they'll tell you that the 4 elements is pretty much everything in nature. The 5th element being ether or matter, or not matter, ether or Akash. Has a lot of different things, but like I said before, Avatar: The Last Airbender, which touches on the 4 elements. Touches on the 4 elements, and the 5th, the Silver Surfer would be Mercury. I'm trying to pull up. See what sign is what I memorize all 4. But let's say, for example, an air type, I want to say Sagittarius. I'll double check. I think Sagittarius is the air type. And air types are normally people who are like an ant. Who an ant walks around, forgets what's going on, then does something else. Aries are like air. Think of it of molecules. When you have something that's solid, something that's a rock, molecules are tight, close together. They're really firm, you know, where water is more fluid, and that's how their mind works. They're more adaptive. You have air types, it's kind of spread out, right? Those are people who are normally random, people who think from one thought to another thought, not really with a link between, if it makes sense. Like they think more randomly than most. Then you have fire type, which is more emotional people. My mother is a fire type. She emotionally, you say one small thing, you can say, hey, such and such in the hospital, and she's already crying and depressed, you know. I mean, I'm gonna pull up here, see if I can pull up kind of what type.
If I could give an example really quick too, I'm an Aries. Like, I am the most strong super Aries you'll meet. I have Aries in my sun, Aries in my moon, Aries in my Mercury, Aries in my Venus. Like, I am super Aries. And I love talking about myself. I love starting things. Like, I'm a trailblazer. Like, I'm really good at starting projects. I'm a cardinal fire sign as well. So, like, I'm really passionate. And as Giovanni was saying, too, I'm super emotional as well. So if you know Aries in your life, just know that we're usually really fiery people. Usually words affect us pretty well. Like he said, you know, any small word you say to us, we can really take it to heart and really go off on our emotions. But yeah, being a cardinal fire sign is a lot of fun. And having an Aries in like 4 of my planets here, it's pretty crazy. It's really interesting, and I would recommend people to go and do a chart if they can. I have a website for it. It's called alab.com. It's short for Astrolab, so ALABE.com. And they have free software where you could do your natal chart, I believe.
Cool. That's pretty good. Awesome. Well, that's some good info, guys. And I know I'd actually be interested to talk a little bit more about astrology. I just wanted to mention, Lori, I just had to mute you. We were just getting some extra noise through there, but I'm going to unmute you and just bring you back into this conversation. Hello, Lori. Welcome back. Lori, is there anything just within this conversation? I mean, I'm sure, like, I'm listening as well, and I'm sure you're listening too. Is there anything you'd like to add, or maybe even just ask a question, maybe about just, you know, clarifying astrology or anything we've heard?
Well, golly, I don't know. I think I fall along the same lines as the last fellow who spoke. I'm a Sagittarius, and I think I am about the most quintessential Sagittarius around. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like, you know, certainly embrace what these signs have said are your main things. But obviously, I remember hearing I think it was the gal who was Santos Bonacci's main right hand was saying, like, you know, you're supposed to, you know, experience all the signs, not just your own. But it's obvious that the ones that you came into are the ones that you're so clearly going to define. So yeah, I don't know. I would just say that I certainly define all the characteristics of a quintessential Sagittarius. I don't know.
Well, I'll just something that comes to mind for me. I mean, we were talking here, and, you know, something came up, the idea of like having multiple signs and multiple suns or moons or something like that, and people are just like, wait, like what? Like I can have more than one sign? Like I just maybe Giovanni or Adriano, maybe you guys can just clarify how that works, like the idea of having different, you know, multiple signs, just where that comes from.
Sure thing. As I was learning, here in my chart, so there's the first thing that they show you is your rising sign, which deals with your exterior, how people view you. So my rising sign is Cancer. So it says I'm sensitive by nature. You know, I like being in familiar surroundings. So people observe me as a Cancer, I believe. Then you have your sun sign. So my sun is in Aries. So on the inside, I'm Aries, of course, and I'm hard-headed, and I like, I'm supposed to like fighting, but I don't really. My moon is in Aries. I don't know what, I'm slipping on what moon stands for. The different planets stand for different things in your body, basically, or like different aspects of yourself. So Mercury has to deal with the mind. So my Mercury is also in Aries, so I like my knowledge to come in fast. I like my knowledge to be strong, fast. I like to learn quickly. Venus, I believe, deals with the heart. I mean, don't quote me on this. I'm just learning. So Venus usually deals with love. So my Venus is in Aries, so I like fiery lovers as well. So as Skull was saying, I mean, I don't know if this is rare to have, you know, a lot of my planets are all Aries, so I think that's kind of funny. Usually, I guess there's usually more variety, and people have different signs in their different planets. So I guess that would be kind of cool, so you can be more versatile. Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Mars, and Mars deals with what you're passionate about in life. I believe it's kind of what drives you. So my Mars is Gemini, and this means that I have a short attention spans on my projects and in my goals, and it's really true for me. I like this. I'm really good at starting things, but I'm not great at keeping things long term. So I'm a quick fire starter, but I'm not good at finishing projects or maintaining projects. So each planet kind of correlates with a different part of yourself. So that's kind of where that stands at. So you can be an Aries sun sign, but you could have your Mercury can be in Gemini, you know, so your mind could be not so much Aries. Your Venus, which is your love life, could be a Scorpio, and that means, you know, other things. So I would just say dive into it more, give it a try, and see what comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure Adriano probably has bits or Adriano. Is there anything? I mean, I got another thing I was going to mention, but is there anything you just wanted to hit upon? Just clarifying anything?
Being a super Aries is pretty tough. I like the fact that I'm pretty. It's straightforward for me. I mean, it's pretty nice knowing that I'm pretty much like Aries. Like it's really nice knowing that. I mean, it helps me to know myself better. But it could also be kind of difficult being such a strong sign in each one of my houses. Like I wish I had a little bit more variety. But as I was just gonna call her Sagittarius. I'm totally slipping on her name. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's all good. That's fine.
Yeah, the beautiful Sagittarius lady said, you should try to experience each other's sign and try to learn from all of them. Even though I'm a hardcore Aries in all of these planets, I should still try to learn from all the other signs as well, because it could help you in life and it could help with people that you're working with. It could help you in your relationships. So even if you're super like hardcore in your sign, still try to learn from the other ones as well, because it'll help you be a little bit more well-rounded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I was what I was really interested in within this conversation, just taking a step back, like Tamara was saying, I think an important thing is the idea that, like, yes, we come in with like a primary sign, so to speak, and as we're learning, we actually have multiple signs. We're actually like a smorgasbord, a compilation, a Mandela of like the different signs in different areas, like working and running as like different programs of our personality. And just sort of like reiterating, as we're talking, we're saying, like, if you start studying your own astrology, you're actually starting to figure out more about yourself, like nocite ipsum, which is really what this is essentially all about, like know thyself, know the universe. And what I'm really interested in addition to all this, is the idea of like, well, okay, so, if you have one person who is, just say focusing on their primary signs or whatever, who is this, and then you have another person who is that, what happens when we combine them as people? What are the relationships that are created when two people come together and their signs intermingle? And of course, this can be like, like multiple, like various types of relationships sort of thing. So, I mean, it's really interesting, even when you just like look at small groups of people. If you just like get like a group of 4 people together and you just happen to like each be like a different version, like, a different sign, it's like, oh, cool, like we got something going on here. It'll be interesting to see, like, I just get excited with like the whole idea of like Avatar: The Last Airbender and all that mythos and stuff like that. And I think we can really bring that into our life and really start to sort of like see the magic of the idea that like we literally are like the walking, talking, breathing form of the elements. And that was something that really came up in the recent episode that we did about why water is awesome, which I believe was just episode 90. And, we were just saying that, like we literally are the 4 elements who have like evolved over time into this vehicle. And now we're walking and talking, and like we're still the waterfall, we're still the fire, we're still the wind, we're still the dirt, but we're like together and we're experiencing ourselves. So, I mean, what happens? 2 of us come together. It's a very, very interesting thing to propose, and especially when you're sort of like looking at it, even just like from the romantic angle sort of thing. And that's obviously a big sort of like trending thing on the internet. People will sort of do that and be like, oh, it will never work between me and this person because like they're a different sign, or like I've already dealt with this person, or I've already dealt with like a Libra before. Like I know what that's like. I'd rather experience like somebody who's like a like a water or fire. It's interesting. It just brings in more understanding, or more subtle understanding to sort of just the subtle intricacies that we are as people. I actually want to bring on another caller here. Our good friend Tamara is actually. Oh, I apologize. I think I called Lori Tamara like a couple minutes ago. I think that happened. But anyways, we got the real Tamara who is in the queue, and we're gonna bring her on. And I imagine she's probably got a thing or two to talk about in terms of astrology or whatever. Just wanted to double check. Okay, so the website that Adriana was mentioning earlier, it's alab.com, but it's ALABE. So it's not LAB, it's LABE.com. So I'm going to post a link for that in the live chat. And of course, anybody in the live chat, if you guys have questions, please feel free to share your questions into the live chat at any point, and we'll get more of you guys involved in the conversation. And I apologize for not giving a shout out to the various locations when I asked you guys to share your locations. So I'll ask you guys to share your locations in a little bit. Don't post them just now. Wait till I'm paying attention, and wait till we're not in the middle of somebody else talking. But other than that, I'll bring you guys up to speed on a couple other things. But let's get Tamara into this conversation. Let's keep rolling with. I think this is good. Astrology is a really, really interesting topic. And somebody else actually sent me a link for a PDF all about the art of astrology, which is like a multiple, like probably like 50-page document all about astrology. Oh God, it's more than 50 pages. It's like 300 pages. And that's how much there is to talk about astrology.
Oh God.
I almost just want to flip to random. I got the PDF open in front of me. I almost want to just like see if I flip to a random thing. No, that's true. Okay, so if I were to, so I'm just going to read like a random sentence. So, okay, so a glance at the position of Saturn and Neptune shows that they are not in conjunction, nor in opposition. They must therefore be square to each other. We therefore write a square in the symbol of Saturn and Neptune's line in the index, also a square in the symbol of Neptune and Saturn's line. Thus we have recorded that aspect. Holy crap. Yeah, so it doesn't even, like, the context of it is there, but no doubt she's like super complex. I'm saying there's like, you know, it's like a science, it's got math and formula to really bring into it. It's all data, it's all information, which I think is amazing, and just how we can interpret that data as you know, just like practical ways to sort of decode the matrix sort of thing. So we're going to bring on Tamara, and we'll get this conversation rolling even further. So Tamara, caller from area code 514, if you're ready, going to bring you on to Paradigm Shift Radio. Here we go.
Of course, I'm ready. Oh,
hello,
this is
Tamara.
wonderful.
Awesome.
Hey, I've been studying astrology for more than 20 years, my dear. This is wonderful. I'm loving this.
Perfect.
Oh, I do charts. I've been doing so many charts lately, too. This is fun. You mentioned tools. There are 3 sites that I would recommend that I have used for many years that you can get many free sample charts, or even just go through your whole chart if you want to go to each thing, right? Okay, so the first one would be www.astro.com. That would be Astrodienst, that's out of Switzerland, and that's your best resource for free charts because you can get a full tutorial there, basically. And they post the ephemeris every day, which is the position of all of the planets. Also, they
what's
go
the link
into
again?
your...
Sorry, Tamara, what's the link?
That's www.astro.com, astro.com.
Oh, I spelled it.
They're actually called Astrodienst, though. But yes, and so you have your ephemeris there, which is every planet, and they post the fixed stars and the asteroids, which is an interesting addition lately. Your friend Adriano, the Aries, with the super Aries. That's wonderful because I'm an Aries as well, March 30th, and I have Venus in Aries, but I have the moon in Aquarius. So this means that I'm a lot more logical than most Aries, and I'm not as passionate and as emotional. The moon is your emotions. He couldn't remember what it was. So being that I'm a logical air sign in my emotional realm, I look at things kind of a little more dispassionately than most Aries, not dispassionately as an Aquarius exactly, but, you know, it mellows the Aries out, thank goodness. I am a warrior, though. I am a warrior of the mind, and that's something that I've noticed about Aries. Okay, a lot of the things talk about them being into sports and being warriors. Okay, well, yes, sometimes. But I've noticed that more often than not, it's in the realm of the mind and the spirit, that they're warriors for truth, maybe. You know, our purification, paradigm shifters, shifty people. But anyway, I thought that was very interesting. We had just went through several major shifts, according to astrology. Okay, so you had...
Yeah, back in April, right?
I
heard about that.
Blood moon on the 15th, right? Which started it all, which was a new moon. Okay, and I hate that they call it blood moon because it was more about rebirth, and it's on Passover, which is why it was important. And it is the first of several that will be on important Jewish festival days for the next few years.
Right, yeah.
So basically that's the start of this next phase that you've been discussing. And we are all feeling that because, you know, I mean, basically this last blood moon was about change, ending things, and a lot of people have gone through relationship breakups or adjustments in their location, which is what I've been going through, actually. So anyway, a lot of us have been up in the air and doing different things lately, and that's just normal, and it's aroused a lot of emotions, and I've been counseling people like crazy, it seems, and a lot of astrology as well is involved in that. Now, and you had mentioned also, where did this come from, okay? Well, in history, we know that it came from ancient Chaldea, basically the Sumerian culture, early, like 6,000 BCE, early on. They were studying these positions in the heavens and what people did when, say, Mars was aspecting something, which Mars, a lot of times when it's aspecting something, people fight for some reason. And they noticed this, and so they started writing these things down, and that's how we got it. Astrology and astronomy were not separate things back then. It was astronomy. That we got astronomy from astrology. So, and it's math. It's math. They couldn't see where these planets were all the time. They didn't have the best telescopes. So it's angles. And that is what's most important in a natal chart, okay? So people wonder why I'm not like my sun sign. Well, possibly because they have a stellium. Like your super Aries, he has a stellium in Aries, which is 3 or more planets in the same sign. Okay, so I have a stellium in Sagittarius and a stellium in Aquarius. So a lot of times Sagittarius is all about exploring, learning, but hands-on learning, which is good with Aries, and cultures. Exploring different cultures, which is I'm all about that, and comparative religion and all kinds of things like that. So you've got this Aquarius moon in my chart, say, that makes it so, I don't react to that little word, I don't. I think about it. Oh, okay, I wonder how they're feeling. I wonder what made them say that, So what you should really look at, I think, in those dailies is your sun sign, which is actually your direction in life, your direction, your goals.
And is the sun sign the one that, I always see myself as a Cancer? Is that my sun sign then? Or
Yes.
So the one that most
the
people are
sun was
familiar
in.
with. Yeah.
On the eclipse.
Yeah.
So, and then your moon sign to see what your emotions are doing is important. And then your rising sign. The rising sign is what sign was coming up over the horizon in the place that you were born at the moment of your birth. And that is the face that you present to the world, your mask, if you will. That's what I like to call it. Your mask for the world. And a lot of times you will be seen as that, yes. So say I have a Sagittarius ascendant, which isn't all that much different from Aries, but it's a little more intellectual. Both fire. And you had mentioned all the elements. Okay, I consider it that there are 5 elements, not 4. And the 5th element would be ether or spirit. Okay, and I've added that in my book, which I never have time to edit because I've actually started a new page. I talked about starting an Ogden paradigm shift community. I actually ended up starting an international page instead because I may not be in Ogden, it seems. I've been invited to Australia. I got to go to Australia and see some mates. And that is funny because you also mentioned Santos Bonacci, and my friend Andrew Snowden just filmed his court thing and helped him with that.
Oh, nice.
And he had asked me to friend him, but he has 5,000 Facebook friends, so I can only follow him. I'm a follower of Santos Bonacci now. I'm not usually a good follower of being an Aries. But, it's cool. And then you mentioned Andy Lai, perhaps? L-A-I?
Yes, Andy, yes.
Oh, he's funny. Oh, my gosh. That's great. That is great. So I know what you're talking about tonight. This is wonderful.
That's pretty cool.
And then
I was going to say, like, what, sort of boiling this down to some practical information that we can share with people. Because I think a lot of people, just out of curiosity, having heard this episode, I encourage you guys to show more of, or just give more attention to your charts. And again, you can go to a few of the links, but alab with an e.com and astro.com is recommended by Tamara, and those will get you started by the looks of it. I'd just be curious.
Yes.
You guys, honestly, you guys know more about astrology than me. I sort of have like the surface idea of it. I understand why it's important. And one thing I sort of touched upon before was the idea that, I think it's important to see ourselves as coming in from a particular sign, be it our sun sign or whatever, but then to evolve to embody like all of the houses, all of the elements, and then to like, as the 12 become one, it becomes like the 13th, which is like the rising serpent and the higher consciousness sort of thing. So, I mean, I'd just be curious, really just bringing this down to base level, not trying to get super complicated, but why should people be interested in studying astrology? If you guys just want to give another response to that, or just putting it to Tamara first.
Yes, I think that it can help you to understand yourself and your interactions with other people, and that would be synastry, actually. Relationship astrology, there are several forms. There's occupational astrology, too, by the way, and they've done some experiments that pretty much shows that, you tend to go into certain occupations depending on your major planets or sun sign. Because it can help you to understand what you're going through and what your plan was for life. I'd say the natal chart was your plan, whereas transit astrology is what you're talking about with what is affecting you now. Where's the planets now, what they're doing to you based on what your natal chart says, and how you interact with those planets. The transit astrology that can be found on astro.com. There's also a lot of things for the numerology on tarot.com. Hans Dekos is a really good numerologist. I would recommend him. And he's got his own page, but I believe there's a link through tarot.com. So, and I also do a numerology, so that's fun too. But that's a whole nother ball of wax, Astrology is, oh my gosh, that's a huge, huge subject as it is. And what's more important in your natal chart is the angles that the planets make to each other. So, and most people don't realize that. That's what makes you more individual. Is say, do you have your Sun in opposition to your Saturn? Oh, that would be not good, for instance, because Saturn is your karma. So your karma in direct opposition to your goal in life, basically, would, so that's important to know. Do you have oppositions? Do you have squares? Do you have sextiles? Do you have trines? And it's a lot more than just the sun sign. So, people that say, oh, it's bull, they really haven't probably looked that far into it. and it is very useful, especially the transits on top of your natal chart.
Yeah. Well, I think, thank you, Tamara. Adriano sort of touched upon it earlier, the idea of, like, why this astrology stuff works the way it does. It goes back to the whole, like, as above, so below. So, I mean, like, as, like, the planets move above us, like, the stars move within us sort of thing. And, like, we move ourselves through, like, the web of reality. But things in particular, like, it's very interesting, again, just the intricacy of taking the math that we can use since we've been able to gather information about the planets over, eons, and to be able to, like, turn it into a formula to be able to figure out and theoretically almost predict the future, or rather to be able to predict, like, scenarios. It's again, just putting it out there, Giovanni or Adriano, or Lori, why should people be interested in astrology? Like, what's the practicality behind it? Anything else that you can just share?
Sure thing. I'll start off. First, I want to say that I love Tamara, and I fell in love with her right away. And I have a quick question for her. What happens when you have multiples of signs? What was that called again? It was an S word.
when you have multiples, it's called a stellium. Stella, star, many stars, basically.
Many stars. Okay, cool.
Many stars, and that increases your power to Aries. Basically, you're not going to have a lot of conflicting interests in your life. You've got a plan and you've got it set, and that's who you are. And what they see is what they get.
Yeah,
and especially with that Cancer.
Yeah, I have four planets in Aries, so that's pretty interesting for me.
Yeah, so more than a stellia, because a stellia you only need 3.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so you're
just
super duper.
Yeah, I just want to answer Skull's question. So, I mean, I would second the motion saying that it really helps understand yourself and kind of what's going on inside of you. And I'm really interested in learning more about the transient thing, and because I think she made a good point that this all started with the blood moon, and I think it's in a lot of people's consciousness right now of looking towards the heavens. I know a lot of people were posting photos of that blood moon, so I think it's good timing to start talking about how the planets are affecting us. So yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I think people should look into it if they want to understand themselves a little bit better.
Cool. Giovanni or Lori?
Yeah, man, I'll say that as far as knowing astrology, by the way, you mentioned earlier about like people were saying, oh, I don't match with that sign. Normally that happens because when people are of the same sign. Like if someone says, the perfect match for Taurus is Virgo, well, that's because Virgo is also an earth sign. So is Capricorn. Either one of those two would be right. Normally they'll say that if you stay within the same element, that's, quote unquote, the match for you. I mean, I don't really believe that's what they say. I think love, is kind of, universal, I guess. But I think it's practical in, like, like they were saying, and you're going to choose your path in life, your occupation. If you think back of when you were younger and you think of the experiences that you went through, and then you'll see that, it was in my birth chart, like a certain thing. For example, according to my birth chart, according to what I've read, I'm the type of person I'm not supposed to be, or I won't have that much of a luck when it comes to finances for the first half of my life, and then after the second half of my life, it's, according to the chart, I'm supposed to be, well off and have friends in high places and stuff like that, which I can see it in the work, I can't really argue with it, but that's how it's been in my life. So to me, it gives me understanding, gives me peace of mind that it's not that I'm messing up, because it's not that I'm doing something wrong. This is the path that I was, that I'm meant to walk. So, I mean, numerology also plays a big part in it. I haven't dived into numerology too much, but I know as far as what I learned in astrology, I haven't really found anything that I can say, oh, no, that's not right. Everything I learned in astrology has played a big part and has been accurate. And it helps to know if I have something coming up, I can see what day will be good for me in a physical versus mental type of way, like a type of energy that I'll have that day. And that way it helps me plan things. If I need to, plan something, if it's that serious to me, I'll plan on the day that is in my favor. Santos Bonacci was talking about in one of the videos that his father, who would farm things, he would plant seeds at a certain time, when the moon is waxing, and then that kind of helps putting into practical use even more, because you're applying the stuff in your everyday life. Yeah. I don't know a day that I don't use astrology.
Yeah. I know there's an interesting idea I've heard somebody sort of talk about, where it's just like people who are like millionaires like use mathematical strategy, but people who are billionaires use astrology. I think Giovanni, you probably know what I'm talking about, or anybody does. Yeah. But I mean, like that's is like literally, you know, like, and when you think about it, like this information, keeping in mind that this information used to be quite esoteric. This is something that, you know, like people held on to because they were just like, if this can get into the wrong information, like this information into the wrong hands, it could almost be like used in, you know, I'm just thinking way back in like medieval times when there was like a lot of strategic repositioning going on or something like that, you know, like how uncommon would it be to think that like people, military leaders who are aware of this would attack when the signs were in their favor, so to speak, based on the planets and stuff, you know, it's if you had that information, would you simply like overlook it or would you apply it? And yeah, it's just an interesting idea. And then again, how can we apply it in our modern day society, like within Babylon, when we're in the city and we're moving about and we're going through that? And I think it's cool to know that it exists, but don't feel bound to it. And at the same time, feel free to find excitement in not depending on it or not even looking at it. I mean, that's the thing. I think as many of us so commonly do, just sort of like go through the flow and go through the experiences. And if you feel comfortable and if you're still learning, then that's awesome and stuff like that. And maybe if you are sort of like finding that you're up against like a little bit of resistance, then that's where something like looking at your astrology may actually sort of just like help give you that extra insight that will just lead you towards less suffering, so to speak. So again, it's a tool. It's a tool. How do we choose to use it, sort of thing? But yeah, it's really interesting. So we're going to wrap up the show. We got about 18 minutes left on the clock, and we're going to continue the conversation. And I'd like to hear from Lori, and then from there, I'm going to talk to you guys just about a couple things. And I'd like to close with a meditation as well, just to keep ourselves sort of centered here and to just bring that into the consistency of our tradition here. So I'm going to just pass it over to Lori. Lori, was there anything else that you just wanted to share on, like, you know, what astrology means to you, and just if you're explaining this to even just like a child, how would you, you know, like why would it matter to them, sort of thing, if you can answer that.
Well, I tell you, Skull, like as I've been sitting here doing a bunch of different things at one time, it came to mind not only astrology, but something I've been super into lately because I've been doing like a yoga teacher's training thing, just going into Ayurvedic practices, and something I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, but the doshas of Ayurveda, they're basically like the three main humors, as they call them, of a person, and they can be interchangeable based upon like what you're going through in your life at the time, but they go hand in hand, I feel like, with astrology. The Pitta Vata Kapha styles, people can look deeper into them, but it's interesting because they tell you a lot about yourself and about how you respond in situations, and but they can, you know, change based on what you're going through in your life at the time. But just really cool because you can look into them and see kind of what your life experience is lending to the way that you respond in situations. So I don't know, the three main doshas, they're called, is Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. And I don't know, just something cool to look into that would go hand in hand with astrology, as far as just getting down to the meat of, you know, how you respond in situations. Pitta being like a person who's super high energy and you know, always the life of the party. Kapha being, you know, a little more internal, and Kapha being the super grounded, and Vata's like the in between the Pitta and the Kapha. But you can look up any Ayurvedic website and look up doshas, and I think it just goes hand in hand with the astrology. So that was just something that came to mind along this conversation.
Cool. I know, Giovanni, you wanted to add in something. Just, you know, we're sort of talking about like the variety of maps that we can use similar to astrology and anything else. Giovanni, was there something that you wanted to mention as well?
As far as the biorhythms that was mentioned in the chat room, that's what I meant earlier when I said I'll plan something for a day that, like, for example, if I'm going to have some kind of competition or a sporting event, something I want to do, a physical football game or something, you know, I it's kind of a cheat in life, I guess, but I'll plan it for a day when I know that I'll be at my top physically over intellectually. You know, I'll try to schedule or I do something challenging mentally on a day that I'm gonna say more mental than physical. You know, and then there's emotion also, which I mean I don't really pay much attention to, but that's something you can also kind of track in a way and use it to your advantage. I think the tool of astrology is if you use it as a guide, as like not really a guide, but I guess like a tool. For example, if you go on a trip, you're going to take, and you're in the woods, you're going to take a compass. Astrology is like the compass, you know. Mm-hmm. I can use it, for example, if I know that a planet has this kind of effect on me, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's set in stone that I'm going to react that way when something happens, but I know that that's the energy that's going to come to me. That if I go with it, it'll you know, play out like it's supposed to, and it'll be in a way kind of seamless. It's like going with the flow. Versus if I know that a sign says that I'm supposed to be ill, or that a planet in a sign means I'm supposed to be ill, then I know from the beginning to prevent that from happening.
Mm-hmm. So, Giovanni, I was just what like how do you like what do you use to sort of like get the new information about like the positions of the planets, and how are you able to read them, so to speak? Is there a website or what do you use as your resources?
Oh yeah, there are a bunch of websites. I have a program called Janus, and in the program it's a software computer software, and everything is mapped out for me. So
that's pretty sweet. Yeah. Is there a website that people could go to for that, or if you just want to spell it?
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll put it in the chat room.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, how do you spell it?
JANUS.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll get that figured out. Awesome. Sweet. Cool. Okay, so yeah, we got about 12 minutes left in the show. Anybody else just have anything that they just want to mention in terms of the astrology stuff? Sorry, I figured Tamara. Go ahead, yeah.
She had mentioned Ayurveda, which is something I've been looking into a lot lately. And Pitta is fire, basically. They have a 3-element system. Vata is air, basically, and Kapha is basically earth. But they combine it. Like, there's Akasha, which is that 5th element I was talking about. That would be space. And that's part of air, and, you know, it's things like that. But, yeah, I've actually equated those, the 3-element to the 4-element to the 5-element, that comes from Chinese astrology, which is 9-star key, and that's also pretty good for transit astrology. And the Vedic astrology is also better for transits. So if you want to know what your life might be like and what would be the better times for things, those are the ones you would want to go to more. So they had mentioned flow, and I think that's wonderful because that's what I see water as, flow, not water exactly, but someone that can flow with life and its cycles. You see the Cancer symbol that looks like the 69? Mm-hmm. To me, that's like wheels. That's like flowing between cycles, you know?
Yeah,
like a washing
definitely.
Machine.
Yeah.
But you're ruled by the moon, so you're always changing with the cycles of the moon, right? Yeah. So anyway, I think that you should not be ruled by it, but you should look at what is going on with the universe and can I work with that? Is this plan that I have going to be easy to do, or am I going to have to alternate, you know, my cycle?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And again, you know, like,
go on.
well, okay, let me just, going back to the Janus thing we were talking about, just to clarify that. People who are interested, check out astrologyhouse.co.nz to check out that website. And they have a trial that you can check out for the software, from what I understand. So I'm interested to check that out as well. And, yeah, to be able to use that and to just sort of be able to see, you know, to do it just as a practice, to see what I can get out of it. And I'm very intrigued. I'm very interested. This will be new for me. So I encourage other people who have been listening to this episode to check out and to just bring a little bit more of astrology into their life. And, yeah. And it was funny, Tamara, you were just talking about, like, flow and stuff like that. There's a new word I honestly, I'm sure it's on the internet somewhere, but a word that came to mind, that came into my head, that's like, just like a combination, is the word flowgress. So progress and flow. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, like checking in with ourselves, like what is our flowgress, like, sort of. So keeping that in mind.
I love your shifty people.
The words that we make up and stuff, shiftivism, and and again, just with the astrology thing, keeping people, just reminding people that, like, astrology, it's not just about our personal, like, zodiacs or our signs or anything like that, but it's the fact that, like, the stars and the planets are constantly always moving. So, I mean, even if you're just paying attention to the moon, that in itself is enough to sort of give you a heads up on sort of, like, where energies are, what's to be expected. State the obvious, like, full moon can equal, like, potential more synchronicity, so to speak, is one way I sort of like to think of it. But I mean, just keep it in mind. Just be aware. Just keep your, look up to the sky every now and then and just think about it. But yeah, so we only got about 9 minutes left in the show, and what I'd actually like to be able to do at this point is just being able to take care of some community business and just being able to tell you guys a little bit about the shift buttons. But as I tell you that, just going back and reminding people in the live chat to, at this point, just share your location of where you're from. I'm curious to see where you guys are from, and then I'll read that off in a second. So anybody in the live chat, post your location now, and then we'll just get an idea of where we're pinging in from across the map for the live users at least. But there's always a lot more people who listen to the show afterwards. But of course, the paradigm shift buttons, for people who are interested in those, you have an opportunity to win some within this episode, and we'll present that after the meditation that we do. And to get access to the shift buttons, send a message to facebook.com/paradigmshiftradio now, and just let us know that you want to be entered into the draw for the buttons. That's per usual. And of course, you can always order some online /buttons, and those are shifty buttons that you can use as tools to connect with people in your local community and hack the matrix, which is an awesome thing. So we'll check those out, and we'll do the draw after we do the meditation. And I'd like to move into the meditation now, and I'm just going to keep it simple, and we'll just be able to move through it. And I feel like there may be a couple other things that we will, of course, the locations. Well, can't want to read those. So, of course, we have people from Richmond, Virginia. Is that what? I don't know my American acronyms for states. I apologize. St. Petersburg, Florida, North Carolina, Tampa Bay, Florida. Actually, yeah, Adriano and Giovanni, you guys are pretty close to each other, actually. And we got people from London, Ontario, Canada, obviously represent, and we got people from Clearwater, Florida, people from Metro Detroit, Michigan, and people from Ottawa, Canada, and all over the place. So thank you so much for everybody who's been a part of this show. It's super awesome. So for everybody who's been joining me in this conversation circle, so Tamara and sorry, everybody, Giovanni and Adriana
Lori.
And Lori. Thank you, Lori. And everybody who's been tuned in, thank you so much. I'm just going to mute you guys while bringing you guys back on after we just do the short meditation. So thank you guys for adding your voices, Conscious Conversation Circle. It's really been awesome. I know we'll talk about some more. So just going to mute everybody there and just inviting everybody to get comfortable as we get ready to segue into this meditation. So literally just moving into this meditation, no rush, but just doing it as an opportunity to embody, to just able to reconnect with that moment of stillness within ourselves. So just find a nice, comfortable position. I'm just going to walk us into this, connect us with our breath. Then we'll listen to some music, listen to some audio. I highly encourage you to do this, to just be able to find a moment of stillness within your day, wherever you are. So take that first breath, gentle inhale through the nose. Gentle exhale through the nose. Again, gentle inhale, connecting with the breath of people all across the world. Gentle exhale, setting forth intention to be able to connect and be an awesome community, doing awesome things. Again, gentle inhale. Gentle exhale. Just continue to find the rhythm of your own breath. Find a place of stillness. Relax, embody, and be. Just going to play this music. So enjoy. Continue to find the rhythm of your breath. Just taking another moment here. In the stillness, just taking a moment to reflect on the fact that all of us have come very, 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 very far to be where we are now. To be exactly where we have chosen to be. And to make the most of the opportunities that we have. So it's going to let the music play out there. You can gently bring your awareness back to your physical body, back to the room around you. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, once again, for being a part of Paradigm Shift Radio. I'm going to do a quick button draw. We literally only got 60 seconds, and I hate to rush things here, but you know I love you guys. So this week's winner for the shift buttons, the person who's going to get some shift buttons sent to them on behalf of Synchronicity, on behalf of the universe, is Pippa. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, sweet. So Pippa is going to get a message, and I'll contact her, and she is going to get some shift buttons sent her way. And, of course, for everybody in the live chat, big thank you to you guys. Now is the opportunity to post your Facebook profiles in the live chat to get connected with each other for everybody who wants to be able to connect with more shifters. And we theoretically will be doing a video after-party hangout. I got a bit of a headache, but if somebody else wants to host it, we'll figure that out. You'll find a link up through facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Radio. And, of course, if you would like to support Paradigm Shift Radio, if you enjoy the show, then please consider donating using the tip jar through the Facebook page, or go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com, or even sign up as a monthly Paradigm Shift supporter for a couple dollars a month. Thank you so much to everybody who's already synced up to that. And just unmuting everybody who is in our conversation circle, and just being able to join and invite everybody to say farewell to the internet with me. So everybody who's unmuted, say farewell to the internet. So bye, internet. Bye, internet. We're going to wrap up the show.
Love
Until
you.
Next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Peace and light, guys.
Go study astrology. So, all right. Thanks, you guys rock.
You too.
Oh, and bonus shout out to Chewie, who is going to be added into this now because we didn't talk about Star Wars. So, so there we go. One love.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Paradigm Shift Radio. If you would like to connect with people where you are and continue the conversations further, then check out paradigmshiftcentral.com/buttons to order your supply of shift buttons to share with people to help invite them to this global project while also helping make new friends and building local community where you are. Shift buttons are tools to hack the matrix and tap into the synchronistic nature of reality to accelerate our collective awakening. Enter the promo code PSR into your order to receive additional bonus buttons to your supply. Thank you again, and one love.